think we are live.
Welcome, everybody, to the
Hello.
Love Change podcast. First off, couple of announcements. New guest, not really a guest, co-host, been doing a lot behind the screens, Katharina. We'll introduce her in a moment. If you're following her on her own Instagram account, you know who she is. I'm Amor Mudo. This is the Love Change podcast. We're recording this because we care about sharing the tough stuff, the nitty gritty, the stuff that happens before you see somebody, some company appearing all polished.
Yeah.
And
All happy and all good.
so instead of telling you the story after it happened, we're going to share a lot during. And if you care about taking away the taboo from pain, taking away the taboo from discomfort, taking away the taboo from vulnerabilities, this podcast is for you. If you're listening, then you cannot see how pretty this lady is sitting next to me. If you're watching, you can enjoy that. And we're going to talk about the journey, the struggle. And today it's called Heartbreak Hotel.
The Heartbreak Hotel.
Katharina, you introduce this topic. Introduce yourself and tell us why you think people can learn a bit about today's session.
Well, my name is Katharina, and I'm obviously listening to the podcast for a while, being his girlfriend. And I find it's a good topic to talk about because most people don't really want to talk about. And experiencing a heartbreak is nothing really nice. But to think back what it teaches you and you can take away from it, I think it's a good one to talk about and really see how you can, with all the pain that you experience, still have the faith that everything is going to work out and fall in love again. So yeah, that was my thought.
Okay. Little disclaimer, Katharina is a big lover of love stories. You always, I learned about Brangelina and who was it, Gaga and who?
Lady
Doesn't
Gaga
that, yeah.
yeah.
All these
Whatever.
people I did not know about, the importance of romance in life.
Well, I learned from you about Will Smith and Jada.
Jada and Will also.
So
nice
he also
story.
has something.
But to start off at the beginning, how old were you when you experienced your first heartbreak?
I was thinking about it today, preparing the podcast, and I think I was 16. Yeah.
How did that go? What happened?
Well, I was dating a guy, I think, for like 6 or 7 months. And I think it went pretty well for that time. But at some point, he was like, yeah, I think that is going nowhere. And I think it's better if we just split up. And yeah, I wouldn't say I remember the pain because it's really a while ago. But I really remember how it felt and how bad it was, especially when you think things are going well and then someone is like throwing it in your face. So that
got
was, I got dumped. I got like pretty much dumped. So yeah.
When you were 16, you got dumped. And
Yeah,
that sucks.
absolutely.
I think it's not nice, especially you were saying that you were flowing, it was chill,
Yeah.
everything was going well, and then he brought down the hammer.
Yeah.
And what did you do? You burned down his house? Or what happened?
No, it wasn't that massive, but I know I was crying for days, really listening to the most sad songs. Yeah, that was really like in this spiral of sadness and not able to get out of it. And yeah, crying, literally crying my eyes out. That's what it was. Yeah,
I'm sorry to hear that.
that's all right.
Wow. Well, that's a good, healthy way of processing the hurt, I guess.
Yeah.
And what were you sad about?
I think basically the idea that I had in my head that it's going well and then him apparently going the other direction. And yeah, I didn't see that coming. I really didn't see that coming. And I think that was pretty devastating in some ways.
Suddenly
Yeah.
took away.
Yeah,
What was
I was really thinking like, oh my gosh, he's such a good guy and he's so great and it's going so well. And then he was like, nah, girl. So yeah, that's my story. How about you? Do you have any heartbreak
think,
experience?
I think I did not realize there was a heartbreak until pretty recently, but I think, yeah, I think when I was 18, I guess, the end of high school, I had a girlfriend, and we weren't able to see each other because of the final exams, so everybody had to study and focus.
Yeah.
And we were still texting a lot, like, "Hey, I miss you. I'm gonna see you. This, that." And then when all the exams were over, she broke up with me with text.
Oh fuck.
And I was like, okay, she's just confused or something. And then a week later, she had a new boyfriend.
Oh, that's a pity.
So I really, yeah, I didn't. I remember I was pretty pissed in the moment. I was like, "You kidding me? You break up with me, and a week later you got a new
I
guy."
think that additional dimension makes it even worse, right?
Uh, no,
Somehow.
I felt like if you want to break up with me, break up with me. But I kind of felt like I was kept at a distance as a backup.
Yeah.
And then
Oh, okay, got it.
when the
Yeah.
new thing came true, she was like, "Okay, then I gotta exit the old thing." And
Wow.
I just smoked a lot of weed and drank a lot of whiskey and had
As
partied.
guys do. Yeah.
I partied a lot. I wasn't really into girls for a while though. I kind of,
Stepped away from it.
yeah, I focused on work and studies and like shied away from having a relationship even. Like I might have flings and this and that, but
I think it's also a very classic way to cope with that.
what's
To just like,
classic about
yeah,
it?
like classic to walk away from it because then you don't even take the risk of experiencing anything like that. You know?
I don't know. I don't know. I think yeah, it definitely took me a while to fall in love again.
Hmm.
But I don't know. You didn't have a classic response. How did you do it?
No, it was also a classic to like cry it out, cry my eyes out, and just listen to super sad heartbreak songs. There's so many out there. I think that's also a classic way to cope with it. But I think there are many ways to cope with it. But I think many people just don't talk about it. They just hide away. And yeah, I don't know. Most people don't even talk to closest
How long
friends.
did it take you the first time to get over it?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe 3 weeks would be my best guess.
But then after 3 weeks, you were good as new.
No, I was not good as new, but I was like over the hill. I
Okay.
was like, okay, something feels alive in me again. Like
Okay.
I don't feel devastated. My heart starts to heal, I would say. Yeah.
And how did that event impact the way you were able to connect in a relationship or fall in love again?
I think at some point I was also pretty pissed. That's where I got as well. And I was like, I don't want to date. And if, then I don't want someone to break my heart again.
Mm.
So for the next decade,
10 years.
yeah, even longer,
Oh,
I
wow.
managed to not have my heart broken again.
But how do you mean you managed to not have your
Yeah,
heart
if
broken?
someone broke up, it was me, basically. It
Uh,
was even longer than a decade. Yeah.
Longer than a decade.
Yeah. Wow. Eh?
So from your teens to your 30s.
Yeah. Pretty much.
And you would break up with people. Why?
I mean, at some point, you just arrive where you like, it doesn't really work out. And I think I kind of, until my end 20s, I was most of the time in a relationship because I kind of thought this is the way to be. And I managed to live next to someone and not really like be in a relationship like how it's supposed to be, I guess. So at some point I arrived at a point where I was like, yeah, it's like we are growing really apart. Like I have nothing to say. And that's why I broke up. I was quite busy at that time. I was working a lot. So I think being with people, partly living with people was just like, yeah, I don't know, coming home, going to bed and maybe spending the weekend together. But that was it. You can keep yourself pretty busy in a relationship with other things, not realizing how quickly you can grow apart.
And you were doing that consciously because you didn't want
Oh
to.
no, hell no.
It was just something you see in hindsight.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I never realized until just like 3 years ago, I guess, that I
Yeah.
managed to be pretty by myself in a relationship.
That's weird.
It is. I agree. It is really weird.
And the guys you were with were happy to be.
I think I can make it look as the perfect thing and mimic the happy girlfriend and just have my own thoughts around it. I don't know. It sounds super weird, I know.
Makes me kind of
I think I changed a
worried.
lot.
Yeah, okay, I know.
I changed a
You can
lot.
act like the happy girlfriend, but at night, gonna get you.
Oh, come on.
No, I don't know. I don't know.
No.
I'm not good at acting at all. So I think what I did for the longest time was be a very, they say in Dutch, bot. It means like when a knife is not sharp. What is it
Yeah.
called?
Doll.
Dull. Yeah, I
Yeah.
was very dull.
Mm,
So I
okay.
would hook up with girls. I would see them maybe for a prolonged period, but I would definitely never label it a girlfriend. And
Gosh, I'm such a lucky one.
yeah,
Such a lucky one.
max. I think the max thing I would do is just say, "Hey, we're hanging out together."
Oh, yeah. That's a big commitment.
Yeah, that's a pretty big
Hearsay.
commitment. Yeah,
Okay.
until I was 25, I guess.
Hmm.
Yeah, when I was 25, I met a girl, and she triggered all my responses to saving somebody and being the helper, etc. So I really fell in love with not only her but also the whole challenge of being with her,
Hmm.
and that really,
The lead.
yeah, that really put me in a very weird dynamic. Actually, I was 23 when I met her,
Hmm.
so we were together between 23 and 25, and I tried
Hmm.
very long. And then I decided eventually that it's not going to work out because of the distance, because she lived in Frankfurt and I was living in
Hmm.
Rotterdam. And I wasn't really heartbroken about it. I was like, hey, it's just not working right now. Let's
Hmm.
figure it out later. Maybe or not, I don't know. But
Yeah.
this isn't working either. And then I had my accident.
Hmm.
So right after we broke up, so she really wanted to be there for me, and we kept being long distance for like a year. She kept coming to Holland, and then we moved in together for about 6 months.
That's quite a step, though.
Yeah, yeah, that was a big step, which I kind of let flow over me.
Hmm.
And then as we were living together, I really found out that we didn't match at all as
Hmm.
personalities. And I guess eventually my heart was broken because of it, but not because she broke my heart, but just because I was really putting in a lot of effort and
Hmm.
energy in the relationship. And when I noticed how for granted she took that and still
Okay.
was expecting more,
Oh,
or
wow.
like it was normal for her that a guy does all the things, that kind of, yeah, really messed me up in the sense that, how do I say it? Yeah, I really felt betrayed in my,
That's a
like
good
taking
word.
my kindness for weakness, like
Hmm.
I'm a fool or something. And yeah, that one stuck with me for quite a while, I think.
What kind of things? Just to
What do
maybe
you
get
mean?
more clarity. What kind of things did she take for granted? Like,
Oh, my energy, my being up, my want to live, to proceed, to go on. She herself, she was very clinging to the past and what was bad. And
hmm.
I find it like for me, every day you make a choice whether you want to have a good day or a bad day.
Hmm.
And I am always making that choice to try to have a good day,
It's a good one.
making the best out of it. And I think she really took that for granted.
Hmm.
That comes easy or doesn't take any effort or
Hmm.
practice.
I mean, obviously, you had the tough time, just like just like
Eventually, I
that.
had to break it up with her the second time as well
Yeah.
because she was very. I think that's when I realized a lot as well. Like I think I learned from the type of girl I fall in love with is creating that taking me for granted situation.
Hmm.
And yeah, also I think the biggest lesson in it was also like if you take off like the love glasses and if you would
The
just look,
pinky ones.
yeah, if you would just look at a person as you would
Yeah.
look to, for instance, if my sister is dating someone, I do not have the pink glasses. I have the brother glasses. I'm like, no, that guy is a
Yeah.
fool. That guy is a punk. That guy's nothing.
Idiot, whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, like straight to
absolutely.
the point. And of
Yeah.
course, they have nice things, but in the base, it's not good enough for my sister. That's
Well,
shitty
you're
thing.
also the brother. It doesn't
Yeah,
make it
yeah.
any easier,
So,
but I get it. I get the point.
but to really be able to sit and be like, okay, I'm really enjoying this person's company and
Hmm.
this person's attention, but what are their flaws, and am I willing to live with these habits around me?
Hmm.
I think that doesn't even have to do so much with being in love, but considering the long term effects of being in love, and that's being with
Yeah,
somebody.
absolutely.
Yeah. But I'm still curious about the concept of having boyfriends and not being with them. You got to share a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I think I grew up in a family that was constantly telling me that you gotta have a boyfriend, you gotta be married at some point, you should have kids. Like, you almost cannot exist without someone, you can't be happy all by yourself.
Hmm.
So I think coming from that circumstances, it was like, okay, I met some guys and they were all good. I remember when we talked about it, like former relationships, and I was like, it's not so much to mention, to be honest, because it didn't really feel like needed to be mentioned. It was good at that time and it kind of fit me, but I was also a different person. I was not really connected to myself as I am now. And it was just nice to have someone around. Like, you know,
Furniture.
yeah, that's really mean, but in some sense, I hope no one is going to hear that from my exes, but in some sense, yeah, it was just like, I mean, it was like, yeah, a pretty guy or a good guy, potentially a nice guy, but I was never having this like, wow, like, yeah, someone is triggering something really great in me, and
Mm.
I feel someone is caring for me and, yeah, I don't know, giving me something every day.
Mm.
So it kind of just happened. Like,
Oh,
I even ended up one relationship and basically also started the next one. That's what girls sometimes do. And then moved in with that guy. And I don't know, was just
really
like, yeah, just like
connected, like
next, next, like
get on the
next.
next
Yeah,
train. Wow.
exactly. So,
No,
yeah.
I definitely needed quite some time between a relationship ending and starting a new one.
Hmm.
Just getting your head out of your ass.
Yeah.
In my experience, like usually when something ends, whether the other person ends it or you end it, after the pain of it shakes off, or like the bruises aren't visible anymore to yourself, you're like, oh, what have I been doing? What was
Yeah.
going on? And
I think that's beautiful, but I don't know, I never questioned that concept. That's why I just went on with it. I think when I turned 29 or 28, that's where I was like, hold on, I'm not sure if this is really what I want. I just would like to get to know myself better.
mm,
And that was a time in my life where I was single for quite a while. And yeah, and then I had my last relationship that went quite a while as well. But apart from that, I don't know. I know it sounds super funky,
and
but
when
yeah.
you say you basically never got your heart broken anymore after that
Hmm.
first time, that's basically the long term effect of somebody breaking your heart when you were 16,
I think it definitely was
is that you never got your heart broken again.
radiating that that many years, but then 2 years ago, when things changed around, I kind of like really rebuilt my whole life.
Mm.
And that's where I got my heart broken, like really hard. I
Okay,
think
that was the
all the
last one.
years were just piling up. And then 2 years ago, it was just like, okay, girl, now you got to take the whole thing. Boom.
Okay,
Remember sitting on my couch and like crying as if the world would come to an end.
okay. Because you had a long relationship already,
No, I
or
was
not?
just dating a guy. I don't know. It was now I could just really laugh about it, but I was just like, oh my gosh, I like him so much and it's so good. And I think I just wanted to have someone around. I think that was it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
And
then
he
he
was
said,
like, nah, I think it's going nowhere. I think we should stop seeing each other. So I was like, ah.
mm,
Yeah, I think it was good, really. Looking back, that's the point when you look back and you
mm,
think about how you felt, how miserable that was, but in the end, it's always for the better. So, what I learned with that one, because that's still like, it's in me, I can still feel it, is like just trust and have faith that the universe is bringing you somewhere that is better than this
mm.
situation. It doesn't help to.
But it took you, what, a good 20 years to do that again?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Fair enough, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But
you
after
didn't
20
date.
years, you can trust and like do stuff.
Yeah, I think I just really changed, and yeah, trusting, trusting the universe itself is just a beautiful thing.
I don't know this trusting the universe stuff.
I do.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think what I learned, I guess, over the time is if you close yourself off from the emotional side of the
Hmm.
connection, then after a while you feel super empty.
Hmm.
I had a girl I was seeing when I was in Curacao, and she was way older than me, and she had had two or three partners in her whole life.
Oh wow.
And I was like, whoa, what's up with you? Why don't you go outside, see people? You're like, you're missing out. It's the 21st century. We have
Welcome.
technology.
I
Come
love
on.
that.
But she told me something. She was like, yeah, I'm really careful with who I mingle with
Hmm.
sexually and relationally because you're allowing somebody else's energy
Yeah, that's a good one.
with yourself. I never looked at it that way, but it
The
definitely,
whole energy thing is
yeah,
just.
definitely explained a lot to me after having another rant of, okay, I think after I broke up with that girl who moved in with me after my accident,
Hmm.
um, I basically went on a whole if it walks and talks, then it can come home with me spree.
Oh my gosh.
And it's not, it left me feeling empty. It left me
Oh,
feeling empty.
really?
Yeah.
I don't even feel pity for that
No,
one.
no, it's nothing to feel pity about.
Oh
But
my
I think
gosh.
besides what these two examples taught me is that also in that whole period I was very closed off emotionally.
Hmm.
And I think that definitely added up to feeling empty as well because you just show up as a body and you don't show up
Yeah.
as a whole.
What made you open up again?
Yeah, I think the realization that the the heartbreak or I wouldn't say heartbreak because I don't feel like every time my heart breaks, but like losing somebody who you have a good time with,
Hmm.
who you connect with, who you like to hang out with, whose body you enjoy, who you have certain habits with,
Yeah.
which are nice, all these things. Losing that, it sucks. It's like losing a friend also. If you have had
Yeah.
good friends and you don't see them anymore, it's also a type of loss that hurts. But if you're not allowing yourself to experience that pain because you want to protect yourself, then you also won't build the nice things, which you did, which I found kind of you were like having the best of both worlds. So I'm having person around and it's gonna be cozy and nice, but I don't feel anything.
Well, it's also something was missing. I mean, the body description is pretty accurate. It was also
Mm.
just like, yeah, like
You're
keeping someone at
detached. Yeah, you're
distance. Yeah.
detached. And when I finally realized, like, okay, so to be able to experience the love, you should also be willing to experience that pain,
Mm.
mourning, that loss. And then it's pretty funny. I think that was about a year or two ago. And then I was like super good at having crushes. Like
Oh my
I
God.
remember, I remember I fell in love with a toilet lady at Central Station.
That's
It's
so
like a
cute.
Brazilian lady with a big, big butt. I was like going to pee, and I was like, oh, I'm in love with her. Drove by there again, drove by there again to go pee, and she wasn't there. And then I was like, it's not really like a
Mm.
love, but it's definitely allowing yourself to be really captivated by
Yeah.
another person,
Yeah.
allowing that to happen, and that can happen in a blink of an eye. Like you just look
Mm.
at somebody, and then it's like
Mm.
something takes over. And I think that's a nice
Mm.
feeling, just to have a crush, So
Yeah.
I was having, but then that's also very no strings attached because
Yeah.
you're just happy about having a crush. And I
Yeah.
think that was a big eye opener for me. Like, if you have a crush, if you are in love, a lot of times for me, being in love meant being in agony because then you're like in the whole Romeo and Juliet complex, like
Mm-hmm.
there's a wall between us, whatever that wall might be.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you take away the aspect that you need to be with somebody, if you're in
Mm.
love with them, then you can just enjoy the love. Then you're like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
in the bubble, it's
Jolly.
playing. Yeah, yeah, I'm happy, and the birds are
Float.
singing, and I'm
Yeah.
inspired, and I can write, and poetry is coming,
Mm-hmm.
etc. Instead of it being this crumbling thing inside, you're like, oh, I cannot be with her, and what am I supposed to
Mm.
do? Or I have lost her. Because right now, if I think back about the past 2 years, the crushes that I would have, I would be like, yeah, I'm happy I had it, and now it's
Mm-hmm.
over, and that's part of the cycle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that definitely that realization that, yeah, you have survived that pain. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's different. The love hurt, because I have not been in as many long term relationships as you, so I do not know
Mm-hmm.
what it's like to really build a life with another person,
Mm-hmm.
and then pulling the plug on that. I think
Mm-hmm.
besides love, that's also just all the habits and whose CD is this, and who cares about
That's no
CDs?
fun.
Yeah, who cares about CDs? But
Yeah, but
like
to
stuff,
split this kind of stuff, oh my
stuff.
gosh, that's always such a pain, really.
It's just you get to know the other side of the
Yeah, yeah,
person
yeah.
who's like, this is my side of the couch. I want this side of the thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think also with you and I moving in so quickly, and I've told you as well, I think for me, besides the whole love aspect, which is wonderful, I think it's also a lot of comfort. I know I was making fun of a lot of my friends that they would have girlfriends because they're too lazy to cook or wash their own clothes. And here I am enjoying
I
the
love it.
macrobial kitchen and
Complaining if food is not on the
splitting my
table.
white clothes with my color clothes. Who does that? People
Yeah.
do that,
People
apparently.
do that, yeah.
Sophisticated, educated people
Absolutely.
do that.
Yeah, here you are.
And for me, definitely a big part of opening up is also allowing that into my life and being okay with the fact that if it might not work,
Mm,
then I have to go through the discomfort of basically missing you every moment.
mm,
I have to do it by myself again.
mm.
But I think you've done that multiple times.
I've done it multiple times, but it doesn't mean that I'm better at it or somewhere further. I don't know. I think it's like you will always have this risk and fear of something not working out. But if you do not allow, then I feel you cannot really experience the full spectrum of emotions, you know, like when you know where you're coming from and being that heartbroken, if you would every day think about what if that happens again, and you don't allow yourself to just enjoy. And I think, yeah, I mean, many people told me, oh my gosh, you're super crazy, how can you move in with you after 2 months? And yeah, actually, yeah, 2 months seeing each other. And but I was like, why not risking it? I mean, it's just nice and it's beautiful and it feels right, and why should I overthink it and have this thought
Mm,
of what might go wrong? Why not just thinking
mm.
what might go right? So yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, definitely what you said about the whole spectrum of emotions. I think for me, the biggest deciding factor was like, if I do not do it, it's because I'm afraid of getting hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And I do
Yeah.
not want that to be a source of decision making.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to get hurt, I might as well see what's in store for me as well, because
Yeah.
letting something that feels right float past and not do anything about it also hurts.
Mm-hmm.
Experienced that as well. And I've seen other people do it as well out of a fear of pain place.
Mm-hmm.
And I
That's a
just
beautiful one.
saw very mature, sophisticated, educated women who talk about healing trauma, etc., just choke up because they're confronted with a human connection that
Mm-hmm.
runs a bit too deep under the skin,
Mm-hmm.
and then they just turn retarded, or not to use that word in the wrong sense, but just stop communicating, just let it die out, because otherwise it might come to life, and then
Mm-hmm.
what comes to life might, yeah, remind you of old pain or hurt you again. And I think for myself, I definitely decided to yeah, lean into that.
Mm-hmm.
Just see what it feels like, see what it does, see where it takes me. And it brought us here today
Yeah.
talking about heartbreaks and how you are able to act as the perfect girlfriend.
Come on.
Slightly suspicious. I'm gonna break open your journal.
Question more.
I'm gonna break open your
In
journal.
the night, in the
Yes,
middle of the
do
night.
research, do research. All jokes aside, how do you feel about what we talked about today?
I think it's really good, and it's really good to talk about it, open up, and also reflect and see where it brought you. And I think it's also for the people that listen to see that I think we are all more similar than we would think, and we struggle with the same problems. And even things that seem so grim, dark, and painful, like a heartbreak, are something that you can really reframe into something good and take the lesson and just move on and risk again. I mean, we are the best example for that. Like I would not have changed anything. If I think back since the day we met and decided to move in together, it's bloody crazy, but it's just beautiful. And if one of us would have pulled back, yeah, I don't know. I think it's beautiful to still be as fearless and joyful and just go full in. How do you
Some
feel about it?
promotional talk about our relationship. I'm not going to participate in that. I'm
Sorry.
going to close off with the podcast. If you're listening to the Love Change podcast with today's topic, heartbreaks, we're here to make things lighter. Change isn't always easy. Change isn't always comfortable, but
It's pretty messy, to be honest.
yeah, it's definitely messy. And I guess we're here to be open about our journeys in change. Our guests, if you're invited on the show, what was the biggest change you had to overcome in your life and what made you do it? Today we spoke about love and how a very young heartbreak
Mhm.
basically threw you 20 years off of opening yourself up again,
Yeah.
Katharina. And for me, I learned a lot about the female body because of heartbreak. So nothing
It's a
to be
good
proud
one.
of, nothing to be proud of, except with the homies. But
Sure.
I think, yeah, we're here to talk about our vulnerabilities, our insecurities,
Yeah.
and leaning into our imperfections, and really accepting each and every one of ourselves as unique and whole while we're all the same at the same time.
Hmm.
So, if you have any questions, comments, if you liked this episode, if you have suggestions, please send us messages.
Topics
Yeah, everything is
if you want to
welcome.
hear.
And thanks for tuning in.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for joining, Katerina.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll see you next Tuesday.